Thanks so much for tuning into this video. I'm going to talk about 10 of the best hikes in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park if you're looking to view wildflowers. In general, if you're wanting to do a wildflower hike, the best time is going to be in the spring from late March to early June. April, May probably being the peak there, but you can still see some wildflowers in the summer and a few in the fall as well. So I'm just going to put these in alphabetical order because I think they're all great, and it's kind of hard to rank like what's best and what's worst of the top 10 because they all have great attributes to them. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started with number 1, just in alphabetical order, Ace Gap Trail. So the Ace Gap Trail, it is 10.7 miles round trip. It has 1,725 feet of elevation gain, and it's up and down the whole way. So it's pretty strenuous. If you're not in good shape, not used to hiking, this is not going to be a trail for you. It does have some small easy creek crossings though, nothing too crazy. And one big perk about this trail is that it's a peaceful hike. You're not going to encounter many hikers at all on this trail. Sometimes you could be the only person on this trail the whole time you're on it. So that's a plus for this trail, just to kind of get out in nature, peaceful, not really have to encounter a lot of people. So for the wildflowers part, from late April through early May, you can see yellow trillium, beard's tongue, Solomon's seal, spiderwort, fire pink, hawkweed, pink lady slippers, Catsby's trillium, yellow mandarin, rue anemone, wild geranium, little brown jugs, robin's plantain, and flame azalea. More into May, you'll see a lot of meadow parsnip, sweet shrub, four-leaved milkweed, blackberry, and stargrass. Late May and June, they have fairy wand, false Solomon seal, galax, and Indian pink along the trail. So a wild variety of wildflowers for sure that you will encounter on the Ace Gap Trail. So to get to the Ace Gap Trail, it's at the trailhead is at the end of Rich Mountain Road, like right by the park boundary. So that was how you would get to the trail, and it's just an out and back trail. So a ton of variety of wildflowers on this trail, even a few scenic views. If you do hike it in the winter, just note you're not going to get those wildflowers in the winter, but a peaceful hike for sure. Next up is the Bradley Fork Trail. This one's a little bit more of a popular trail. It's a good, easy location to get to. And if you do the total whole trail, it's 9.6 miles round trip. A lot of people don't do the whole trail, but you can. I'd say it's moderately difficult if you do less of the trail. It can honestly be easy at parts. So that may be an option if you don't want something super strenuous. It's going to follow along Bradley Fork most of the trail, and you can even see a few waterfalls along the trail. So a lot of water features, and every crossing that you will cross water will have a footbridge, so no need to worry about getting your feet wet or to be a difficult crossing because there aren't any. So for flowers, in early spring you can look for hepaticas, violets, and foam flower. As the spring season progresses, you'll notice umbrella leaf and Fraser's sedge bloom on the higher elevations further along the trail. April and May, wood and rue anemone, Vasey's trillium, beaked violets, and crested dwarf iris. And then in April through July, you can see wild strawberry, robin's plantain, and Canadian violets. And the trailhead to get to the Bradley Fork Trail is in the Smoky campground, just off Newfound Gap Road. At the back of the campground, it is signed. It's pretty easy to get to and accessible. It can get a little bit busy on the trail, but it is an absolutely gorgeous trail. Wildflowers, plus you have the beautiful creek, stream, and just all the water features. It's pretty well maintained as well. So that is the Bradley Fork Trail. The next hike I want to talk about is the Chestnut Top Hike. So this hike is going to be 8.6 miles round trip. Total elevation gain of 1,486 feet, and it's pretty strenuous. You can also maybe catch a few glimpses of some views of the Foothills Parkway or Townsend along the way. So this is definitely a hike for more experienced hikers for sure. So in the spring on the Chestnut Top Trail, you can catch white trillium, and you can also see bloodroot, yellow trillium, hepaticas, violets, jack in the pulpit, bishop's cap, purple phacelia, fire pink, plantain-leaved pussy toes, star chickweed, and wild stonecrop. During the late spring and early summer, you can encounter hairy beard tongue, rattlesnake, hawkweed, and squaw root. So this trail is located in the Townsend area, and the trailhead is actually located 100 yards north of the Townsend Y, so it's pretty easy to find, not too hard at all to get to. So it's moderately popular trail, so you may encounter some people on it. But yeah, definitely Chestnut Top Trail is really good for a variety of different wildflowers. Next trail I have is the Cove Hardwood Self-Guided Nature Trail, sometimes called more of a quiet walkway, the Cove Nature Trail. Either way, it's the Cove Hardwood Self-Guided Nature Trail or Cove Hardwood Nature Trail. Again, it has various different names, but it's the same trail. So it's 0.8 miles round trip, but it's considered moderately challenging, even though it has a relatively short length, because it does have elevation gain. So you're gaining elevation, you gain 239 feet, so it's not just straight walking. You're going to work for that. And it does have some small creek crossings, nothing crazy though. So beginning as early as March, you can see hepaticas and trout lilies, and through April and May, you will encounter some yellow trillium, white fringed phacelia, squirrel corn, wild ginger, white trillium, and Dutchman's breeches. And then May through June, Solomon's seal appears. So to get to the Cove Hardwood Self-Guided Nature Trail, the trail starts from the Chimney Tops picnic area. So it's pretty easy to find, and it can be kind of a popular trail. So it is kind of challenging, but it's not like overly challenging. So if you're in decent shape, you could definitely do this trail. And it's a shorter hike that won't take as long if you don't have as much time, but still want to look at those gorgeous wildflowers. Next is Gregory Bald, which is a pretty popular hike, so you're definitely likely to encounter people, especially when you get to the top of Gregory Bald. So there's a couple different routes to get to Gregory Bald. But the first mile of the hike is going to be relatively easy, but the last 3+ miles are when it gets pretty strenuous and you really get your elevation gain of 2,300 feet. And this is Gregory Bald via Parson Branch Road in Cades Cove. It's a 10-acre area of grassy meadow. On a clear day from the top, you can see Cades Cove, Rich Mountain, Klingman's Dome, and Thunderhead Mountain. So you got absolutely wonderful views at the top that you can just sit, take a picnic up there in your backpack, and just take those views in while you're up there. A lot of people will, and that's what I personally would recommend. So for the wildflower aspect of Gregory Bald, visit in mid to late June for a fabulous display of flame azaleas. There's various hybrids and they're very impressive. In fact, horticulturists and even the British Museum came and took some of these azalea samples because they were just so unique and such a variety up there. It's really something to behold. Absolutely wonderful just seeing them all in bloom. So to get to Gregory Bald, at least via Cades Cove, Parson Branch Road, the trailhead is 3.3 miles down Parson Branch Road, which you will access off of the Cades Cove Loop just after the Visitor Center. And again, it can be a pretty popular hike. It's definitely well worth it to see those gorgeous azaleas and just those views from up top though. The next trail is the Canady Fork Trail. This trail is 4 miles round trip. It's 1,495 feet of elevation gain. They have it labeled as moderately difficult, but I could argue it could be more on the difficult side just because of that elevation gain, but the length isn't terrible on it. During the first half a mile of this hike, you'll actually be above the Canady Fork Creek, which is pretty nice, so you can sneak a peek here and there. On this trail, you can view early yellow violet as soon as March. In April, you can see cut-leaf toothwort, dwarf cinquefoil, large flowered bellwort, white baneberry, Canadian violets, Vasey's trillium, painted trillium, wake robin, Solomon's seal, northern white violets, and brook lettuce. So this one really shines more of earlier spring with the wildflower display. To access this trailhead, it's on Newfound Gap Road. It's approximately 12 miles north of Cherokee. So if you are coming from Cherokee, it would be 12 miles north towards Gatlinburg. So before you do get to Clingman's Dome and before you get to the Tennessee state line would be the trailhead. So yeah, again, this trail I would say definitely particularly shines more earlier spring with its wildflower display. Next is the Little River Trail. So this trail is 4.9 miles round trip. You gain 412 feet in elevation. I'd say it's moderate, but more on the easy side of moderate. It's just got some length to it, but it's a steady uphill climb. It's nothing too crazy. It parallels the Little River along the hike, and 2.2 miles in you will reach Husky Branch Falls, which is gorgeous and a nice street. And also along the hike you're going to see several old home sites where cottages used to be that were part of the Elkmont area called Millionaire's Row. So in early spring you'll see spring beauties and trailing arbutus. Later on in spring you'll see hepaticas, yellow trillium, dwarf cinquefoil, stonecrop, Canadian violets, and umbrella leaf. And in June you can see mountain mint, and orange and pale jewelweed. So to get to this trail you'll go to the Elkmont area of the park, and the turn is on Little River Road. You'll go about 1.4 miles down the road after you turn towards Elkmont, and you'll see the campground entrance, but you're going to turn left, don't go into the campground, and then you'll continue 0.6 miles to the trailhead. This is a pretty popular trail, and for a good reason. It's absolutely gorgeous hiking along the river, and there's lots of wildflowers to see along with the old home sites. The next trail is the Borders Creek Trail. So this one's 4 miles round trip, 699 feet total elevation gain. Moderately difficult, but honestly it's nothing too bad. I did this trail when I was in pretty bad shape. It's just kind of gradually uphill, so it's not awful though. The first mile follows along the banks of Porter's Creek, and you get some really pretty creek views and water views. So the John Messer farm site is also along this trail. Fern Branch Falls is 2 miles in, and that's your turnaround point as well. It's a really pretty waterfall. definitely recommend seeing that. So for the wildflowers, in late March, you can see bloodroot, hepaticas, white fringed phacelia, violets, and white trillium. Into April and May, you're going to find yellow trillium, toothwort, wild geranium, mayapple, dwarf ginseng, blue phlox, baneberry, foam flower, halberd-leaved violets, woodland bluets, and jack in the pulpits. So this is one of the trails that has a large variety of wildflowers along it. So to find the Porters Creek trailhead, it's in the Greenbrier area of the national park. So after you turn onto Greenbrier Road, which is off of US 321, heading out of Gatlinburg towards the Pittman Center, towards Cosby that way, you're going to drive 3.1 miles onto that Greenbrier Road, and then you'll continue straight after a fork in the road to reach the trailhead, which will be in another mile. It is signed. It's pretty easy to get to once you're down that road. And yeah, just a really nice trail, especially for seeing wildflowers, history, and waterfalls. Rich Mountain Loop is the second to last trail I'll be talking about. So it's 8.5 miles round trip. It's definitely considered strenuous. You gain 1,736 feet in elevation. You do get to pass by the John Oliver cabin, and also on the trail you can see views of Cades Cove and Townsend. You get some pretty incredible views of Cades Cove and Townsend on this trail. Also, Crooked Arm Falls is just off this trail if you wanted to see that waterfall. So in mid-May, you can see mountain laurel, flame azalea, purple phacelia, rattlesnake hawkweed, yellow ragwort, violets, sweet shrub, wild geranium, blackberry, four-leaf milkweed, everlasting pea, and butterfly weed on this trail. So this is a good trail for May. A lot of these will last in June as well. So to get to the Rich Mountain Loop, the trailhead is right at the beginning of Cades Cove Road, right where it turns to a one-lane portion. So before you hit that one-lane portion, you can park and be able to hike this trail. Even if the one-lane road is closed for whatever reason, you'd still be able to access this particular trailhead. But it is a strenuous trail, but you are treated to a variety of wildflowers and some amazing, incredible views. Maybe even a waterfall if you want to stop by Crooked Arm Falls. Okay, so the last trail I want to talk about in the Smoky Mountain National Park that's great for wildflowers is the Schoolhouse Gap Trail. So this trail is 3.8 miles round trip, 513 feet of elevation gain. I would say it's easy to moderate. It's not too crazy, but there are some parts that you're going pretty much uphill. But it's not super long or anything like that. And the elevation gain isn't like crazy. So the first part of the trail also follows a small stream called the Spence Branch. So that's really pretty to see. And this is also where you can get to the famous White Oak Sinks area. Sometimes people think that the area is kind of haunted. There's some stories about it. Definitely something to research if you are interested. And the Blowhole Cave can be accessed from this trail in the White Oak Sinks area. You cannot go in the Blowhole Cave, but you can see it, which is pretty cool. Also, you can see a wild boar trap on this trail because this is an area where wild boars have been spotted. So, mid-May, on the lower portions of the trail, you'll see a lot of Virginia bluebells, but when you go up higher elevation, you'll encounter beaked violets, pink lady slippers, fairy wand, golden aster, stargrass, red clover, robin's plantain, sundrops, Kate's beast trillium, lyre leaf sage, rhododendron, mountain laurel, cardinal flower, Carolina vetch, and yellow ragwort. A lot of variety of different things. There's really a lot of rhododendron on this one, for sure. Which, honestly, it's pretty easy to find rhododendron in general in the national park, even just from driving through. So how do you get to the Schoolhouse Gap Trail? The trailhead's approximately 3.7 miles from the Townsend Y, heading towards Cades Cove. And it is marked. This trail is usually not super busy, but it could be, but it's usually not super busy. But I do like this trail, and it's good for spotting wildflowers, like all the trails on this list are. So, if you made it this far in this video, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It really helps me out. It's just something simple, free, easy to do. These videos do take quite a bit of time to get together, so just knowing that people are enjoying them and like them, that's, you know, really great, and it just helps me out in general against the YouTube algorithm. So again, this was just 10 great wildflower hikes in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Not really in any particular order, just alphabetical. Alright, thank you so much again, and get out and get hiking.